Welcome to the Berman Hour, everyone. My name is Jeff Berman. It is Sunday, May 17th. We're still in quarantine. I've been doing the Berman Hour every day for the past 16 days to quench my thirst for creativity, to quell my boredom, and to be in touch with people who are in the same or similar situations as me. Today's guest is Kailynn West, who is a friend of mine that I know from the world of music and touring, and we're going to have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to see if I can bring her in here. Oh my goodness. I can never press these fingers. Joining us momentarily will be Kailynn West from the band Tiny Stills. Are you there?
I'm here.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you all right, yes. You live in Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles. Have you had issues with your internet during this quarantine?
Dude, I sure did. Let me tell you what. It sucked. But I live in a guest house, like in the back of a main house, and I live basically in a converted garage. Yeah. And the router was just like very, very far away and outside, and the Ethernet cable, some rats had like chewed through it. So there was a whole bunch of things happening that was like not helping me with my internet situation.
Is it been resolved, or is it still an issue?
Let me tell you what. I'm glad you asked. It's been resolved. We bought like a 200-foot Ethernet cable and ran it from the main modem, like all the way through, like through the backyard into the guest house and through my little window, which is like over there. So now I have actual internet, which is like, I mean, great, because I can work. Like, yeah. Exactly. What's wrong with yours? Just that you live in LA?
Yeah, I just think it's, I'm cheap and I don't want to pay a lot for it, so I don't go for any of the other services. And I'm kind of an older building, definitely the oldest building on our block, I would say. And so I think just some of the connectivity issues or whatever. And also, just being in LA, every time I do this, I have to interrupt my wife's work or whatever she's working on, or if she's posting around Instagram, because I'm like, you got to get off the Wi-Fi so I can talk to these people without it being messed up.
Choppy.
But it's kind of a universal thing. My guest yesterday was my friend Finlay, who lives in Liechtenstein, and I could hear him perfectly the whole time, but I couldn't see him perfectly until the last 3 minutes, which is just how it goes. But I'm not my competitors. I'm not Kimmel. I'm not Conan. I'm doing my own thing. So
yeah, dude,
it's free. The ads are coming, but until then, it's worth every penny. I want to talk to you about Tiny Stills. Your hair looks nice, by the way.
Dude,
you stressed about it?
Thank you. Did I what?
Was it like a stress thing? Like, I'm stressing out, I'm gonna cut my hair, or did you just do it?
It was a little bit of a stress thing. I kind of had been thinking about it for a while, but like having long hair sucks like a lot. Like it's a lot to take care of. It's a lot to deal with. And like, here's another great thing about being a musician and living in LA. I like try not to get haircuts more than once a year because they're expensive. So I hadn't had a haircut since before the music video that we did, which we put out in like August of 2019. Yeah. So I had been like a long time without a haircut, and I was like, I'm done. I'm just going to cut it because I'm sick of it. And it was pissing me off. So it was a bit of a frustration and a bit of a stress thing.
Yeah. Was that the Everything's Going Great music video?
Yeah, like that was the last time I had a haircut. My haircuts are based on record release schedules. And like when I have to like look okay to be on a camera, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get a haircut. But I just was like, I'm gonna do it myself. I don't care. It was stressful. There was a moment where I thought I started crying. I teared up a little, and I thought, there's no way out. There's no way out of this. I gotta figure this out. So yeah. But I did it.
Fair enough. Well, if you remember me from the years 2014 through 2017, then you remember that my head was just a fucking mess of hairballs and knots, and
I do remember those years.
I looked like a more strung out version of Ryan Adams. I'm not sure how.
Don't say that about you.
No. I mean,
you were rocking it
without actually being strung out. I was strung out on tacos or something. But I want to talk about Tiny Stills, but I want to talk about something else first.
Okay.
You did something that I find very interesting. Besides the fact that the song is great, you recently released a song under your own name, which is Kailynn West.
Yeah.
Whether it's your real name or not, I'm not going to check your birth certificate. You have a new song out called Dating in the Apocalypse. It's a great song. Why release a song not under Tiny Stills, and why put it out under your own name?
Yeah, so I did release a song on Bandcamp's like special day that they did where they waive all of their vendor fees or whatever, and they give all of the proceeds to artists. So I decided to release a song under my name, and that was because I wanted, well, first of all, I really am in the process of transitioning Tiny Stills into like being a band, and like there's members now, and like the music we want to put out is like rock. It's a rock band, and we want to be like working together on it. So I'm sensitive to that, and also that song, I wanted it to be very much so a song that I completed on my own in my bedroom. So it's all like electronic. It's not like not a lot of organic instruments. There's a guitar at the end, which is very on purpose, but it's basically supposed to be really sterile and just me and kind of mechanical and very alone. And that's not really what Tiny Stills sounds like anymore. It's not just my project. And so I really wanted to honor that and just make something completely unlike Tiny Stills.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Was that a decision that you wrestled with, or were you sure about it to begin with?
Oh, I wrestled with it because I didn't know if I wanted to use my own name. For a second, I was like, I don't want to attach this to my name. I don't know if I want to like carry that with me forever. You know, because as you know, like when you put stuff out and you Google your name, I mean, it just comes up forever. You know, that's kind of one of the stresses of not having a band name or doing an independent artist thing is like, I have other jobs that I do where I'm an engineer and I'm a like an audiobook producer, and then anytime anyone Googles me for audiobook work, like my music will come up, and sometimes I don't want to mix those worlds, like they're kind of separate. But I just bit the bullet and I put it out under my name.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because I'm sure that the live viewers and people that will watch it later were probably thinking the same thing, and it's also something personally that I've wrestled with between, you know, if I ever release that's definitely more of a band thing versus something that's more of a solo thing. And
Right.
every release, I tend to kind of pull my hair out about this. And then when I look back on it, like when I look back at a release that we did called Pacific Avenue in 2017, I went back and forth on that for months to the point where we stalled the project. And I think that was just a giant waste of time. So it's something that I continue to wrestle with. But when you're in it's hard to see the forest through the trees. When you're in it and you really have to decide, it's not the easiest thing to decide.
Yeah, and I wrestled with it a lot. Like over my whole span of like, I mean, I've been playing music since I was like 13 years old. I'm only 21 now. But, you know, it's like I've been doing it my whole life. And then I think like, would I want people to find the music I put out when I was 16? Like, no. Like, once you put it out there, it's just out there. And then on top of that, I hate being pegged as a singer-songwriter. Like, I think that term can just fuck off. Like, I hate being called that. There's such a weird derogatory, like, nature to that term, though. Especially being a woman. It's like, ugh, like, it makes my skin kind of do a weird thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. There's so many things you fight when you go by your own name, I guess, you know?
Yeah. Do you envision yourself playing shows and perhaps even touring under your own name, keeping that separate from the Tiny Stills endeavor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If we want to convert it into a band song and do something with it, I'm totally open to it. I don't know where that's going to take us, and if we want to do it. It's definitely like venturing more into this communal space than it ever was. So I'm open to anything, really. I wanted to make something that I felt like I could just, without talking to anyone or like getting opinions on it, or just, you know, I just wanted to release something without having other voices kind of involved in it, because I was like, I just want to get this out.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe I'm not opposed to it at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So you said you've been playing music since you were 13. If I remember correctly, we're from the same home state, right? You were from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we are from the same home state.
Yeah, you're from Hershey, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And are you from Lancaster? Or
I'm
you just
from Lancaster.
okay?
I've been there in 5 days, which is why you see the boxes behind me
I'm so stressed for you.
and the bags under my eyes because I've been thinking about people I'm saying goodbye to.
No.
Yeah. When did you leave Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I left. So I graduated from college in 2010. Oh my God, my mind is blurring. I went home for that summer. And then the summer after I graduated, I moved to LA. So I've been here for 10 years.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been, I mean, this kind of should feel like home base now, even though I'm like, oh, I'm not from here. I still don't feel like I'm from here, but yeah. I've been here 10 years.
It's been 12 years for me. And now that we're leaving, I realize how much it actually felt like home. I think it's just a grass is always greener sort of thing. But is there anything specifically about Pennsylvania? And, it's kind of a remarkable, fertile area for young bands to come from. Did you experience that? Was there something that you kind of gravitated to in the scene, so to speak, in the Hershey, Lancaster, Harrisburg area that kind of got you into performing as opposed to just being an avid fan?
Yeah, and actually, I bet we have a lot of mutual friends and community members that we should probably, I would love to touch base with you on. But there is an artist named Andrew Shiraki, who goes by Koji on the Roof.
Yeah.
And Koji and I went to the same performing arts school in Harrisburg, where we both studied music, for half our day in high school. And he's a little bit older than me, but his family owned a youth center called Lower Paxton Youth Center. Do you remember this?
I'm going to date myself here. I graduated high school in 2000, and I left. So next week I will be returning to living to Pennsylvania in almost 20 years to the day. So,
man,
I remember hearing about it, but I wasn't there to go to shows. I was out of that area by the time that was around. But I know I do.
That's okay. We were just a few years shy from being in the actual similar scene. But Lower Paxton Youth Center was basically a cement room, and hall shows. It was where you could go and play a show if you were under 21 because there wasn't any alcohol, and kids could just come. And it was one of those things where you would go and just hang out. It didn't matter who was playing, you would just go because it was the thing to take up your time in high school without getting in trouble. And that really, I think, formed a lot of the community in central Pennsylvania. At that time was Lower Paxton Youth Center. The Wire, you remember The Wire in Harrisburg? Definitely went to a bunch of shows there. My mom did not like it that I would go to shows. Or my friends and I would go to shows.
And the championship was out that time, right?
Yeah, and championship. Although I'm bummed because I never got to play at championship. I got to run live sound there for a metal band, and I forget which one it is, but I did run sound at a show at championship once, and I felt very out of place. But I don't know. It feels like I just missed that benchmark of performing in central Pennsylvania. It was championship.
Yeah, you did miss it.
Did you play championship?
I did. I was in a band called the Boyles at that point, and even though I was living in New York, the band was based out of Philly.
Yeah.
And had strong Pennsylvania roots, so us playing a show in Harrisburg or York or Lancaster was not. It was just kind of a little bit beyond playing just a normal local show. It was easy for us to do. So I remember playing championship at least 2 or 3 times, but the shows never felt as good as they did in the fire halls or the VFW halls that I remember. But I think it was just the scene kind of had growing pains. Metalcore had really kind of taken over, which is great for the people that loved that. But that certainly wasn't our scene. And it just kind of the venue was having pleasant growing pains as a business and kind of how to operate as a DIY all ages space. In 2020, there's lots of framework and prototypes and examples that have been set, but 2002, not so much, you know. And I could kind of sense that. I think that you and I met, if I remember correctly, we met at Fest a number of years ago when you were playing guitar for, at the time, Allison Weiss, now John A.W. Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do a significant amount of that kind of hired gun work?
Oh my God, that was so long ago. I can't believe that was the year that I met you. Yes. So I started playing for John Allison in like 2012 and did like, I want to say 2 or 3 tours with them, playing keys. And then John Allison suggested me to Chad Gilbert because Chad from Newfound Glory has a side project called What's Eating Gilbert, and they were going on tour, and they needed a keyboard player. And so John Allison said, hey, you should talk to Kailynn. Kailynn plays keys for me, and it's all good. And so Chad reached out to me, and I started touring with What's Eating Gilbert then. But we only did 1 show, and that was in 2015. And that was the tour that they had a family emergency and they had to cancel. And then I continued the tour as Tiny Stills. And that was kind of the end of my being a hired gun days. I like to call myself the she-boardist. I felt like I was like taking that, because I don't really play keyboards. I do. I can learn a song and I can play them, and I'm like utilitarian with it. But like I'm not like a prolific keyboard player. Like I'm a guitar player and I can play guitar for sure. But I was getting hired to play keyboards for a lot of people, which was insane.
But work is work at that point.
Right. I mean, I would do any, like in my early 20s too, I would play for anyone. Like I would, if you were going to pay me to do anything, I didn't care. Anything that involved playing music, I would do. And I was on as a side musician on The Voice. There's a video of me playing on The Voice.
Oh, wow.
For a country artist called Ray Lynn, who was a season like winner that they wanted an all-girl band, and I was the guitar player for that. And there's a very awkward video of me playing a song called God Loves Girls that's on YouTube, where I'm like the background guitarist for Ray Lynn on The Voice. I would do anything. I didn't care. I was like, just get me into playing music. I'll do whatever you want. Like any music, I'll play it. But
yeah. That all led you to Tiny Stills, which you guys have 2 full lengths under your belt, and you just released this a split kind of digital release thing last summer, which is very good. And yeah, you guys had a big tour in April, a U.S. North American full on, like, not one of these like we're gonna try to make it around the country in 21 days because a homeboy who plays drums only has 3 weeks of vacation. No, you had like 45 fucking days. I looked at it and I was like, let's get it. Without bringing you to tears, I'm curious of your mindset, a little bit of the timeline, if you can share it, and just what it fucking felt like to know, like, as the world was closing in on itself, that you and Bristol to Memory, your tour mates, were not going to be able to embark on this tour.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really ambitious tour to do it. It was a really long time, and I think there were some mixed feelings, at least for me, because I know, and I know you know, how stressful, how time-consuming, and oftentimes a failing financial venture tours can be. Like, they're not always like these big, fruitful experiences. Like, a lot of times you'll go 2 weeks into a tour, and by the time you hit 2 weeks, you hit some kind of stride. But those first 2 weeks, you're like, I hate every single thing about everything I'm doing. I can't get a shower. I can't eat real food. What is a vegetable? You know, and like you start to feel kind of crazy. So there were mixed feelings. I was so sad that we couldn't do it because we had plans to do a Kickstarter after that. We were going to do another full-length record this year. Like, I felt like my whole momentum was like completely halted. And then I had to take it and take that disappointment and just kind of turn it inward and just be like, okay, but now it's like self-preservation time. You have to save that energy that you were going to put into that tour and into that Kickstarter and into that writing process and all that stuff, and just save it for later, because you're going to do it. You know, it's just not going to be right now. And it's weird because everyone's on hold. Like, I don't know if you feel this way, but that whole like FOMO thing about watching your friends go out on tour and watching them do things, like, no one's doing it. No one's falling behind. Everyone is like stopped. Everyone is like, there's no like, in that sense, like competition or that pressure to keep going is like, it's completely gone. It's weird. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. For the purpose of transparency, I should say that 2019 was a great year for Divided Heaven, but it emotionally drained me.
Yeah.
But by the time I got to Fest, I was, I felt as if I was going to cross the finish line and I was going to get to New Year's Eve at the end of the year on big crutches. And I went and did a European tour that completely rejuvenated my love for doing this, my love for touring, and my love for the good shows, my love for the bad shows. I had the single best European tour that I had ever done, and the only downside to it was the finances were not as good as they could have been, although they were very good, because it wasn't that long. So I knew that 2020 was going to be a slow year because my wife and I are moving. We had just bought a house. So my goal was to kind of finish a record and then do a little bit in the fall. So, you know, I interviewed my friend Drew from Seattle a couple weeks ago, and he had the same thing where, you know, he had to cancel a tour that he had spent 3 months booking, and it was supposed to be a 35-day tour. And so I fortunately am not in the same boat as you, where I'm kind of re-scrambling plans that I had. Most of my calendar year, in terms of Divided Heaven stuff anyway, was kind of wide open. Now I'm starting to realize, because of some of the work that I'm doing and speaking to people at our level, is that everybody is starting now to put together plans to, like, essentially reopen their musical careers. But nobody knows what that's going to look like. And that's really scary. So I'm not in any rush to try to even come up with a plan. But I also don't want to be like the asshole that just kind of stands back and says, oh, let me see how Kenny Stills handles this comeback. And then depending on like, all right, that'll be how I decide. But no, it's just promoters that I know that in Europe or across the States, like, they're kind of starting, but I'm just not barking up those trees. What are you thinking about at this point?
I don't know. I'm really nervous about, and to be clear, like, I don't feel like I am disappointed that we're not touring. I know that it is hard, but you know, I feel like I do often find myself being the happiest I have been when I'm like on tour and feeling very fulfilled, like all that in all those ways, even if it is sometimes like very difficult. But I'm nervous because I don't know what it's gonna look like. Like, I don't know how you feel, but I mean, like, we were just talking about hall shows. Like hall, everyone is very close and everyone is very, like, to get close together. And imagine, where my head goes is like, imagine being that person who is very upset because your show did well and it's only in like 100-cap venue, which is now actually like a 50-cap venue because you can't fit that many people in, you know. And then what are then the rules? Like, what does that look like? Assuming there's no vaccine, assuming, you know, we don't find other ways to deal with this. It's like, it really changes the whole landscape of touring and also venue capacities and what's a responsible show look like. And like, do you encourage people to like come closer? Do you encourage people, you know what I mean? It's like those little things where you're like, oh yeah, I don't open up the pit, you guys. Just don't.
Leave the pit closed. I think
the pit is closed.
I saw, I think you guys were the last show that I saw before this all happened.
Get out.
I saw you guys at Federal Bar in North Hollywood with Sundressed and
Oh yeah.
Did they get married play, or were they were all there? We were all there to.
They were, yeah, everybody was there. Get
Frank
married and play.
playing.
It was
We were
Demon
pretty.
and me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like to bust Randy's balls when he plays in other bands. So
We sure do. Randy, you still in here?
we just
Randy.
stand on the side of the stage and just go like. But yeah.
Listen, there's nothing that I love more than busting Randy's balls. Like, especially on stage. I've seen that guy fall while he's performing, and it is the highlight of my life. Like, watching him showboat and fall, god damn it, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, he's just like,
I love that kid.
He's gonna be that asshole that's like forever cute and forever and forever young.
I know. He's gonna look 18 for his whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I know.
Forever skinny. Like, he's just gonna be like forever swooshing his hair. It's just, he's gonna be that.
That's his move.
That constant. Yeah. Quick interjection here. You were kind enough to sing backing vocals on an EP that we did last year, Cold War Hangover, where we kind of reworked some songs from the record and slowed some of them down and made some of them like kind of dark and brooding. And I wanted your voice because you have a very beautiful voice. Were you always a singer, or was that something that you had to train and kind of learn when you were younger?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for asking me to sing on it. It's always an honor.
Yeah, thank you.
To be asked that, but especially like with friends, I'm happy to do it, and I'm glad that it worked out. I wasn't always a singer. I took lessons. First of all, I auditioned for multiple fucking high school plays that I did not get into. I auditioned for fucking, what's the one? A Dream to Dream of Days Gone By? What is that? Come on in the comments. It's what did you say?
Oklahoma, the Music Man?
No. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I've auditioned for multiple high school plays. I got into none of them. I took singing lessons in high school, and I took singing lessons from an opera singer. She was the only person who was teaching lessons in central Pennsylvania, and I was not good. I had a mental breakdown on the way to my singing recital in high school because it was too high. Like, I feel like the songs she was having me sing were too high.
Okay.
I never felt confident singing. And so it's really weird to me that this has kind of become the thing that I do, because I don't know. I guess that's why anyone who comes up to me and says that they like my voice or they think it's pretty or anything, I'm always really flattered, because the only thing that I thought I could do well was just try to sing like myself. I tried to sing other people's songs and I didn't like the way it came out. I tried to sing my lesson songs and I didn't like the way they sounded. And I was always like being told to sing differently. And I took classes in college too, and I got ripped to shreds. Like, my instructors were,
wow.
They hated, like, they were like, why aren't you singing with your diaphragm? Why aren't you singing this way? Why, and it was really enough to kind of deter me from trying. So yeah. I'm always flattered when people say that or ask me to sing on something. Yeah. Thank you, Les Mis.
Yeah, Les Mis. Oh, okay. Where'd you go to college?
I went to music school in Boston. I went to Berkeley.
Did you graduate?
Unfortunately, I did.
Everyone's like, yeah, I graduated. My friend Sal in Boston was like, yeah, I went to Berkeley and I graduated, but you're not supposed to graduate. You're supposed to just like leave and drop out because you start doing all this cool stuff in the industry. But yeah, he did. I also took voice lessons when I was living in New York from an opera singer. I think it was like the Bel Campo method or whatever, and these techniques, which is why I felt the way that I can. As you were saying that, it made me think of something kind of funny. Like, when you play a show and someone comes up to you after your set and they go, you have a really great guitar tone. And like, it makes me mad because that's their way of saying, like, your band is shit, but you have a guitar tone. And so, like, I do have a guitar tone. I have, like, the stereo thing with the two different amps. Like, I know I do. I appreciate the compliment, but it's kind of like their way of saying Divided Heaven is trash, but your guitar sounds good. Um, but when someone comes up to me and compliments my singing voice, that's my favorite thing. That is the compliment that I strive for with every show, because I know that everything else is subjective. Like the music is subjective, my shitty banter is subjective, the way our merch looks, like people are either gonna like that or not like it. But if I get like an unequivocal, proverbial pat on the back and compliment about my voice and my ability to sing, then I can be high on that for like days on tour. Are you the same way?
Yeah, I am. I just like, I want to say first off though, like you have such a powerful voice, and you can sing and you project, and like your voice though has always struck me as being very individual and very, very cool texture. Like I'm let me just take it, Jeff. But I really mean that. I'm not just like shitting you.
And I'm not stopping you.
So please keep going. Keep going. I do get really flattered by people saying that. I think the most flattering comment that I've ever gotten is when people come up to me and they talk to me about lyrics, because for me, I spend a lot of time like really picking apart lyrics, and like that's kind of, to me, if I can write a song that's good, regardless of if I'm singing it or if someone else sings it, like I feel like a songwriting compliment is really like hits me in the like gut. Like to me, that's like, oh, that feels cool, because I like when I know people are listening, and sometimes people come up and they'll quote a lyric at me, and I'm like, it really shocks me in a really nice way.
Yeah, that's great. Do you think that a couple quick questions? You and I had talked about this before. You guys did a full U.S. tour with Get Married, and the aforementioned Randy is in that band, and they are the kind of band that just demographically vibes with what you would experience at a typical basement show or house show.
Mm-hmm.
And you had expressed kind of the struggle that you had either playing before them or after them in these same kind of settings, using the same kind of members. Why do you think that is? What is the struggle that you had with Tiny Stills and with the style of music and the songs that you're singing, getting across to an audience that's more millennial, maybe? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel very passionate about this, but if anyone in the comments feels otherwise, please feel free to correct me. So Get Married is a specific kind of rock music that is super boisterous, really fun. Like they end their sets like Randy, they're like doing guitar solos, like totally like fun to watch. Hi Brian. Oh, people I've been on tour with. I sprayed silly string on Brian once. It's a tour prank. Hi. But it's like I think that they just are really great at commanding a small space. They're fun, there's energy, and like I feel like Tiny Still songs, if you can't hear what I'm saying, again, like lyrics and like everything like that, but if the PA system is not like up to par, I can't make like a shitty PA feel good. And like I struggle with that as like objectively as like an artist, whereas I think some bands come in and they just they can fucking whatever the room is, they can like destroy. Get Married is definitely that band, and I hate them and love them for it. But yeah, like my sensitive songs right on after that, it's like fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I struggle with that all the time, and Nick and I would talk about for hours on end, seemingly, about demographics, like the information that we get from Apple Music and Spotify, and kind of seeing how things work. Just realize like we could probably not have to play a house show ever again with like teenage or all ages shows. It's just not. It's not who's resonating with or it's not who our music is resonating with, And it's such a unique thing to try to battle, but you had to do it in real time for 40 days.
Yeah, I feel like you learn a few tricks after you fail 40 days in a row. Speaking of which, just saw Randy in the comments. We've been talking about him for like Randy, we've been talking about you for like 15 minutes straight, dude. Where you been?
Yeah. Well, I really thank you for your time. I only have one more question for you, and that is, what's next for Tiny Stills? You kind of alluded to it earlier, where your plans were on hold, but you did say that there's another full length in the pipeline. What say you?
So we have an EP that we recorded in January that we're going to be putting out on Wiretap Records. We just today decided we're going to still be putting it out, and we're going to put the songs out as singles over the next few months. So we're in the process of figuring that out. I really hope Fest happens, but I hope it happens if it's safe for it to happen. We are scheduled to go do Fest. We had pushed back our tour originally till August. It doesn't look like August is going to happen. If Fest happens, we'll be there putting out singles until Fest. But really, it's like playing it by ear. I mean, I'm excited to have new music out. Side note, Randy, I missed it. My ego. See this? I don't know. Are you reading this?
Yeah.
Oh God, that's too funny. What about you? I mean, what's new? What's happening with you? You're gonna pack up and move to Lancaster. I will see you when I'm on the East Coast again.
This is not the West Hour. You don't get to ask the host.
No, this is welcome to the West show. This is the West Hour, Jeff. We're changing it over.
Fair enough. We are. Kate and I are leaving on Friday, which is very sweet. Notwithstanding the fact that we're doing this during a pandemic and we haven't been able to spend all of this time in LA seeing people that we want to see and doing what we love to do here. I've been here for 12 years. My wife is born and raised Angelino, and with the exception of a little bit of time in San Diego and Vegas, I mean, this has been her home pretty much her whole life. So it's emotional, and it's kind of weighing on us, but at the end of all of this, at the end of this packing process and this shitty, scary drive across middle America, we have a house waiting for us, and we're kind of been really excited and wanting to start this next chapter for a long time. So, what that means in terms of divided heaven stuff, all I know is that I have a new record that I'm really proud of, and I just kind of don't really know what to do with it. And there's a number of songs that I need to do additional tracking for, and that's beyond my skill set of what I can kind of do with my home studio stuff. So when I get to Pennsylvania, either I'll figure out a way to do that myself, or I'll figure out a place where I can safely do that. And I don't know. Either way, there's gonna be new songs out this year, probably not a new record, and then revisit when it feels right to revisit. I don't know.
Yeah, I gotcha. One final question on the West Hour takeover.
Thanks for having me. Yes.
Yeah. I'm thinking about going blonde. Do you have any bleach tips for me? Hit me with your bleach tips.
I have a tip. I have a tip for you that would not come from me, but other people would say this. My wife would say this, and it is, don't do it yourself.
Oh, I'm doing it myself. At
this point, whatever. I do have a style that I like going to. I love going to my buddy here, Trevor, in Hollywood, but I won't be doing that anymore. So I got this done at the beginning of the year because I knew it was going to be the last time. But you should absolutely do it. As stupid as it sounds, as trite or cliche as it may be, I feel more like myself, and I feel more optimistic and more enthusiastic and just more have a thirst for the good things in life when I've got my bleached hair and I feel a little bit like an outsider. It's just so strange. And then when it grows out, I like this look the best. Maybe not today per se, but like with the roots, that's kind of my thing. And the thing that did it for me was I went and saw Billy Idol played a really intimate show at the Roxy a few years ago. And I was able to get in. I didn't have a ticket. I got in. So it all felt very, very, important and significant. And I watched him come out on stage, and he's my height, which is a nice way of saying he's short and much shorter than I thought he would be. He wears like the punk rock bondage pants still and looks great in them. And despite having a little too much plastic surgery for my taste, he still has bleached hair and it looks great.
Dude,
he looks fantastic. And I came home and I told him,
awesome.
like, I'm gonna have bleached hair for the rest of my life. Fall out, and bleaching it doesn't cause it to fall out, and I've been blessed so far. I'm all about it. So you should do it.
Well, I'm doing it my fucking self. That's how I feel. I fucked my hair up once before with bleach, and I'm not afraid to do it again. That's how I feel. I fried my hair off. I've done it. I've been to hell and back. What do I care? I'm in a pandemic.
You've got time to regrow it if you burn it all off.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, Kailynn, thank you so much. It pains us to not be able to give you a proper in-person goodbye before we go. But I wish you the best of luck. I know we'll stay in touch, and I'll continue to be a supporter. And I really like this new single that you put out. I hope to hear more.
Well, thank you.
From that kind of side of your creativity.
I'm gonna try to put a new one out for the next Bandcamp day. So I'm trying to write a new one for June 1st. So we'll see if I make it. If I don't, I don't. But
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for being a guest on my Berman Hour talk show. You stay safe, stay healthy.